All right, so today let's do a deep dive into something really, really mind-boggling.
Okay.
Different perspectives on consciousness and reality.
Sounds good.
We're going to be exploring these concepts through an interview with a cognitive scientist,
Hmm.
and this guy might just have the highest IQ ever recorded.
Oh, wow.
I think somewhere between 195 and 200.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's compared to Einstein's estimated 160 and Newton's 190.
Oh, wow.
In this interview, he talks about his theory of everything,
Okay.
which he calls the CTMU, the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe.
Okay.
Are you ready to have your mind blown?
I think I am. I'm ready.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think what makes this so fascinating is that it goes beyond just raw intelligence.
Yeah.
It's about how he uses his intellect to tackle these enormous questions that have puzzled philosophers and scientists forever.
Right. Yeah, forever.
You know?
Absolutely.
So the interview starts with the classic question: does God exist?
Okay.
And his answer is yes.
Okay.
But he doesn't stop there. He goes on to describe reality itself as having a kind of identity,
Yeah.
a fundamental isness.
It's like he's saying that reality just is.
Yeah.
And that in itself has the properties of God,
Yeah.
as described by many religions.
Okay. So is he saying that the universe is God?
Well,
That's a pretty bold statement.
he describes his view as more panentheistic.
Panentheism.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little?
Sure.
That's a new one for me.
So panentheism is the idea that God is both within and beyond the physical universe.
Okay.
So think of it like this.
Yeah.
Imagine the universe is the display of a computer.
Okay.
God is like the processor,
All right.
the force that drives everything,
Yeah.
makes it work.
Okay.
But God also exists outside of that display,
Mm-hmm.
beyond the limitations of the physical universe that we see.
Okay. So God is the power behind it all,
Right.
but also something bigger.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting analogy.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about a God who just created the universe and then took a step back.
No, not at all.
This is a God who's deeply involved in every single part of reality.
Exactly. And that leads us to another one of his big ideas.
Okay.
Consciousness exists everywhere,
Everywhere.
not just in humans, but in every part of the universe.
Wait, are you saying that this table we're sitting at is conscious?
He would argue yes.
Really?
Even a table has a basic level of consciousness.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
I know it's a tough one.
Yeah.
He uses human perception as an example.
Okay.
When you see a person standing in a room, you're not just seeing the person themselves, right? You're also seeing the space around them,
Yeah.
the boundaries that separate them from everything else.
So our consciousness is actually shaping how we see reality,
Yes.
drawing lines and defining objects.
Right. He talks about levels of quantum.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
The table has a very basic level of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs our human consciousness to perceive it fully
Mm.
and understand its purpose,
Oh.
like whether it's for eating or working.
So if consciousness is literally woven into the fabric of reality,
Yeah.
does that mean we don't actually have free will?
That's where his concept of metacausation comes in.
Okay.
He challenges the usual way we think about cause and effect.
Hmm.
The idea that one thing leads to another in a straight line.
Yeah. When we talk about free will, we usually picture that straight line, right?
Yeah, I guess
This
you could-
happens and then that happens because of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he says it's more like a closed loop, where the future can actually influence the past.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah,
How can something in the future cause something in the past?
it's a tough one.
Isn't that a paradox?
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Think about moving a glass of water.
Okay.
You decide to pick it up and move it, and it ends up in a new location.
Right.
Seems simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But he'd argue that the future state of that glass,
Okay.
the fact that it will be in a new spot, is already playing a role in your decision to move it in the present.
Okay. I think I need a minute to process this.
Yeah.
You're saying that my choice to move this glass right now was somehow influenced by where it's going to end up in the future.
That's the idea.
That's why.
It's definitely mind-bending.
Yeah.
Like, it really makes you question how time actually works.
Yeah.
But instead of a straight line,
Yeah.
imagine that our choices are interacting with a web of possibilities that can influence both past and future.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But before my brain completely melts down, let's get to a question I think everyone wants to know the answer to.
Okay.
What happens to us after we die?
This cognitive scientist tackles that head on.
Does he?
He says that we absolutely continue to exist after death.
So no pearly gates or anything like that?
Not exactly.
Okay.
He believes that heaven and hell aren't actual physical places.
Okay.
Instead, they're states of being that we create ourselves through the choices we make.
So our consciousness creates our afterlife.
That's the idea.
Interesting. Yeah. And he even ties this to the experience of psychedelics, suggesting they might be glimpses into other dimensions of reality.
Interesting.
That's a whole other deep dive we could do sometime.
We should do that sometime.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
But for now, I have to ask.
Yeah.
If consciousness is this fundamental force, does that mean angels, demons, even are those real too?
He doesn't shy away from that question either.
Oh, really?
He says, yes, those entities exist.
Wow.
And he fits them into his CTMU model.
Okay.
He describes the devil as sort of a necessary opposite to God.
Okay.
A representation of incoherence.
So like the yin and yang of the universe, good versus evil.
Not exactly. He says it's not the classic good versus evil, light versus dark kind of dualism.
Okay.
God is the source of coherence.
Okay.
The fundamental unity and order of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
The devil, on the other hand, represents a lack of that coherence.
And he even says the devil gains coherence through us.
He does.
Through humans and the systems we create. That's a pretty chilling thought.
Yeah, it's a bit unsettling, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's not that corporations and governments are inherently evil,
Right.
but that they have the potential to lose sight of that bigger picture, that coherence that he links to God.
Exactly. And that's where our choices come in.
Okay.
We have the ability to choose coherence, to align our actions with what he sees as God's plan, or to fall into that incoherence.
Okay.
We're not just passive players in this grand scheme of things.
Wow. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
God consciousness, the devil free will, and even the fate of humanity.
Yeah, we've been busy.
Before we move on, I want to pause and ask you, dear listener, what's standing out to you so far?
Yeah. What are you finding most intriguing or thought-provoking?
What questions are popping up for you as we dive into this cognitive scientist's incredible ideas?
Take a moment to reflect, and we'll be right back to explore even more of this fascinating world of the CTMU.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So welcome back.
All right.
Before we took a moment to reflect,
Yeah.
we were talking about some pretty mind-blowing stuff. From a God who's both a part of and bigger than the universe,
Right.
to the idea that even inanimate objects have some level of consciousness.
Yeah, it really is a lot to process.
It is.
So
Yeah.
let's unpack this concept of metacausation a bit more.
Okay.
You said it involves a closed loop
Yeah.
between the past and the future.
Right.
But how does that actually work?
It's tough to grasp
Yeah,
because we're so used to thinking in a linear way.
right.
But instead of a simple chain of events where A causes B, then B causes C,
Yeah.
imagine a feedback loop.
Okay.
It's like the end of the chain circles back and influences the very beginning.
Okay, so it's not just a one-way street.
Not
There's some sort of back and forth happening across time.
exactly.
Okay.
And this cognitive scientist says this back and forth is crucial to understanding free will.
Okay.
Because if our actions were totally determined by the past,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be any room for real choice, would there?
So you're saying that the choices we make in the present are somehow influenced by what we'll do in the future.
Yeah,
That seems kind of paradoxical.
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But remember, he's challenging our whole understanding of time. He says the future isn't some fixed destination.
Right.
It's more like a realm of possibilities that we're always interacting with through the choices we make right now.
So we're navigating through this ever-changing landscape of possibilities, and our choices are actually shaping that landscape as we go.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And this brings us back to the CTMU.
Yeah.
His theory of everything. He's not just trying to explain the physical laws of the universe.
Right.
He's also trying to explain the role of consciousness in shaping reality.
And that's where his unique definition of God fits in, right? That panentheistic idea of God being both the driving force and the display of reality itself.
Exactly. He says God provides the framework, the underlying structure of reality. But it's our consciousness, our choices that actually help create the universe as it unfolds.
Okay.
We're not just watching the show.
Yeah.
We're part of the cast.
That's a pretty empowering thought, but also kind of scary.
It is.
If we have that much influence over reality,
Yeah.
it means we have a huge responsibility to make good choices.
Absolutely. And this is where his ideas about the afterlife get really interesting.
Okay.
Remember, he says heaven and hell aren't physical places.
Right.
They're states of being that we create through our choices.
So are you saying that if we constantly make choices that go against this idea of coherence, if we're not aligned with what he calls God's plan, we're essentially creating our own personal hell?
That's the implication, yes. But on the flip side, if we're striving for that coherence, aligning our actions with this greater purpose, then we're creating a kind of heaven on earth.
It's like we're building our own afterlife brick by brick with every choice we make.
That's a powerful image.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Where do angels and demons fit into this?
Mm.
We touched on that earlier, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
He doesn't go into a ton of detail about the specific nature of angels and demons.
Okay.
But he suggests they exist as entities that can influence our consciousness.
Okay.
Kind of nudging us toward either coherence or incoherence.
So they're like these cosmic whispers trying to guide us down different paths.
That's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
And remember, he sees the devil not as some equal and opposite force to God, but as a manifestation of incoherence.
Right.
The devil lacks that fundamental unity and purposefulness that he associates with God's creation.
And he says the devil can gain power through humans.
Yeah.
Through the systems and structures we create, right?
Yes. He points to organizations like corporations and governments as potential examples.
Okay.
He suggests that because these systems are so powerful,
Yeah.
they can easily become breeding grounds for incoherence, places where self-interest takes priority over the greater good.
Okay, so let me see if I'm getting this straight.
Sure.
God represents coherence, the underlying unity and purpose of the universe.
Right.
The devil represents incoherence, the fragmentation and chaos that happen when we stray from that unity. And we as humans are caught in the middle, constantly making choices that either contribute to coherence or incoherence.
Exactly.
And those choices shape not just our own lives, but the very fabric of reality.
That's a great summary. It's definitely a complex perspective.
Yeah.
But it really invites us to think about how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
How our choices ripple outwards and affect the whole.
It's heavy stuff for sure.
It is.
But it also feels kind of hopeful in a way.
Yeah.
Because if we have that much influence, it means we also have the power to create positive change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what makes his ideas so thought-provoking.
Yeah.
He's not just presenting a theory. He's inviting us to participate in this grand cosmic dance of creation.
Before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to pause again and invite you, our listener, to join the conversation.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Does this resonate with you?
What questions is this raising for you?
Take a moment to ponder these ideas, and we'll be back soon to wrap up our exploration of the CTMU and what it means for our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Welcome back to our deep dives into the mind of this incredible cognitive scientist.
Really incredible.
It's been a wild ride.
It has, hasn't it?
It really has.
Yeah.
We've been wrestling with some seriously big ideas.
We have.
And I think it's important to remember that even with an IQ of 200, no one has all the answers.
That's so true. And honestly, that's part of what makes his work so fascinating.
Right.
He's not afraid to ask the big questions, even if the answers are still out there somewhere.
He's definitely not giving us easy answers.
No, he's not.
That's for sure.
Right.
But he is offering a truly unique perspective on some of humanity's oldest questions.
Who are we? Why are we here?
Yeah.
What is the nature of reality?
Yeah.
What happens after we die?
And he's doing it by pulling together insights from so many different fields.
Yeah.
Physics, mathematics, philosophy, even religion.
It's incredible.
He's creating this incredible tapestry of ideas that challenges us to think way outside our usual boxes.
Okay, so let's try to connect some of those threads and see what kind of picture emerges.
Okay.
We've talked about the CTMU, his theory of everything, which suggests that consciousness is fundamental to reality itself.
Right.
We've explored the concept of metacausation.
Yes.
The idea that the future can influence the past just as much as the past influences the future.
A lot to think about there.
And we've touched on his panentheistic view of God.
Yes.
A God who's both part of the universe and bigger than the universe at the same time.
It's a really interesting concept.
And let's not forget his ideas about the afterlife.
Yes.
Where heaven and hell are self-created realities.
Right.
Based on our choices.
Based on our choices, yeah.
And where angels and demons exist as forces that can influence our consciousness.
It's wild.
Woo, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
But if we step back and look at the CTMU as a whole,
yeah,
it's really a framework for understanding the universe as a self-creating self-organizing system.
Right.
A system where consciousness isn't just an observer,
Yeah.
it's an active participant in creating reality.
And that's where this cognitive scientist's ideas become so relevant to us as individuals.
Okay.
Because if we really are co-creators of reality,
Yeah.
it means our choices have meaning and power that go way beyond our everyday lives.
We're not just choosing what to have for breakfast or what to wear to work. We're making choices that contribute to the overall harmony or disharmony of the universe.
Exactly.
We're shaping our own destinies and the destiny of everything around us.
It's a huge responsibility, but also an incredible opportunity.
It is.
We have the power to choose love over hate, unity over division, harmony over chaos.
And when we do that,
Yeah.
we're not just making our own lives better.
Right.
We're helping consciousness itself evolve.
That's where I start to feel a sense of hope.
Me too.
Because even though the world can seem incredibly dark and divided sometimes,
Yeah.
there's also this amazing potential for transformation, for healing, for creating a more beautiful and just world.
And this cognitive scientist with all his mind-bending theories is reminding us that this transformation starts with each and every one of us.
Right.
It begins with our choices, our thoughts, our actions.
It's about aligning ourselves with that harmony, that unity that he connects to God.
So, dear listener, what does this all mean for you?
How does it resonate with your own understanding of the world?
If consciousness truly is fundamental to reality, what does that mean for how you see yourself, your purpose, your place in the grand scheme of things?
This cognitive scientist has given us so much to think about, so much to explore.
He has.
If you're intrigued by his ideas,
Yeah.
I encourage you to dive deeper into the CTMU and see where it leads you.
I think that's great advice.
You might just discover entirely new ways of understanding the world and your place in it.
Remember, the journey of discovery is often just as important as the destination itself.
It is.
Keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Keep exploring.
Keep challenging your assumptions.
That's what real learning is all about.
It is.
And that's what the deep dive is all about, too.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this amazing journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.
See you next time.